So this October 19th, 2011 snapshot, the Democratic Republican single party monolith is in a state of denial. They're like the stock trader that should have taken the money out when they had the $2,000-$3,000, you know, but they didn't. They held on to it, and it went down, and now they're in this, it'll come back, it's turn on those machines. You know, and what are they talking about? You turn on MSNBC, and who's paying for the commercials? These guys are talking, you know, coal. We have to burn more coal. We got to sell more coal and burn more coal. No, we don't. You know, or they're talking about unions. Well, what unions are they? We're the auto workers. We have to make more automobiles and sell more cars and sell more trucks. We got to get Ram tough. No, we don't. There's too many cars. If I was in government and someone came up to me and said, Tommy, you got to support the auto industry. You got to support the United Auto Workers. Well, I'll tell you what, when you make an automobile, a truck or whatever that lasts for 50 years and doesn't cost all of my, most of my money, whatever way I could collect for maintenance and things like that, then I'll support the auto industry. But it's like I was saying in the last part, you know, cars last for less duration, or you have to service them more. They cost a fortune to service, and so on and so forth. But all of the point here is that all of these things that all of these people are talking about is they're not talking about doing anything different. They're talking about kick-starting the economy. You know, we want more money, we want better wages, we want better benefits or something, but they're not doing anything to change the arrangement. And the arrangement is bound to fail. The way that the communities in the United States are set up, how they were built, how they came into being, is obsolete. Okay, but you can't just say to these people, well, the house that you lived in all your life, you have to get rid of it. You have to sell it. You have to move somewhere else so you could get a job. You have to move somewhere else and be an indentured servant to some other company or some other business. All of that, what all of that is doing is it's maintaining the mentality of we're in service for the purpose of business. We got everything that we do is for business, and that's not the way it should be. Public transportation is an absolute necessity. There has to be some way for people to get around. Now, in my view, there's too many automobiles, but still you have to have highways. You have to have some limited amount of transportation. You just don't need as much as you have now. I would rather see, you know, Obama is talking about electric cars and things like that. That's fine. I'd like to see electric cars. I'd like to see solar energy in order to fuel the electric cars rather than nuclear energy, which is what they're talking about. I'd like to see maglev, but I don't really want to see nuclear reactors built in order to fuel the damn thing. I don't think any of those things are necessary. The only reason that they're spoken of as being necessary is because it benefits some sort of business interest. It's not designed for people. It's not designed for people first. Now, the thing of it is that people are pressuring the Occupy Wall Street. They're trying to get them to become Democrats, you know, or kiss Newt Gingrich's ass or something. You know, they're trying to force them into some sort of a mold, or force them into adopting some sort of position so that the CIA or FBI or whoever can attack them, you know, by not having any kind of concrete position other than this. If you convince people to look at things in a different way, if you convince people to look at things in a way as government is going to work for people first rather than working for business first. Or, you know, I mean, who would ever stop to think that the government works for landed interests first? They don't do that anymore. They got to the next step. They do things for business, okay? You got to get them to the next step to finally do things for people. You know, it's like, you just wait, be patient, we'll get to you. You know, we got to take care of the landed gentry first, and then we take care of the business interests, and then we'll get to the people finally. You know, it's like, well, your time is up, okay? And the point of it is people are talking about, well, you got to get money out of politics. You're probably not going to get money out of politics, because the way it stands right now is essentially what they're saying is, well, you have a corporation, and it's just not fair to have 12 men put their money together in order to buy an election. In other words, to buy advertising to convince you that you should vote for this person, to convince you that we need more cars, that we need more coal, that we need more, you know, wars or whatever the hell it is. The point is if you change how people think, then it's not going to matter who gets elected. They're going to have to respond to you, because the people are at a point now where we're just not going to take it anymore. And unfortunately, the Democratic Republican single party monolith is still in denial mode. You know, it's like, I'll give you an example. When the labor unions came to the OWS, did they offer some sort of compromise? No, what they did was they said, okay, we're going to give you our numbers, you know, and instead of trying to strike up some kind of deal with them, they just stand around and wait and to see, you know, what are you going to offer them? This is what seems to be what's pissing everybody off, is that rather than the government coming to the people, which is what they're supposed to do, they're pissed off because the people aren't coming to the government. Oh, please, please, you know, Coca-Cola and Jesus Christ and everything. You know, it's like, we want you to do things for the people first. That's the point to the whole thing, the way that I see it. In fact, it's the only solution. It's the only thing that could come next. It's just a natural progression. It's just a function of evolution. That's simply the way that it is. So I don't know what you could do, really. I have absolutely no expertise in anything that has to do with raising money for politics or advertising or anything like that. All that I know is when I turn the television on, I mute commercials. I don't even listen to them. I turn it off, and I glance at the screen once in a while, waiting for the program to come back on. And to be honest with you, I avoid any kind of channel that has advertising on it at all. And like I said in this last series of vlogs that I did, I'm in favor of abolishing all tax credits for all forms of advertising. I don't care what it's for. I don't care if it's for politics, for charities, for whatever it is. If it's advertising, no tax credit, zero tax credit for it. And what's going to happen? What is going to happen? We can't do our business anymore. You know, it's like, you won't be able to have 110 cable television channels that all have the same commercials, that all have the same programs, that have Flipper reruns from 1968 or something. You know, it's like, oh, gee whiz, I'm going to miss that so much. These are the sorts of things that you have to think about. You know, do we really need those things? I don't need those things. And I can't recall that anyone has asked us whether we need those things. The government sometimes asks us what we want to do and what we need, but the private sector doesn't. They give us this bullshit like, well, you're going to, you know, you're going to speak through the market mechanism or something. And it's a crock of shit, because the market mechanism is like so far removed from anything that we have anything to do with. You know, it's like you need a necessity of life. All the prices are vertically fixed. You know, it's the same products by the same producers. It's at the same prices practically anywhere you go, any place in the United States. And you have no choices. That's it. Unless you come up with some different solution in some different way, you know? And eventually when that happens, you're going to be in a situation where you're going to have to form some sort of a corporation to get it done, some sort of joint stock effort to get it done. So again, those things are not evil per se. It's just how they're being used. And the primary way to change how they're being used is to change people's perception. It's like what Franklin Roosevelt said, all we have to fear is fear ourselves. Because at the very most, that is the most that the powers that be can do to us, is they could scare us. It's the very most thing that they could do, short of absolute totalitarian fascism.